I mean, with Zika, shortly before the second half of the season. And I thought it was a good time to catch up, like you've played your first half. You have a unique situation, I think, both from a player point of view, World Cup, your team, your past seasons, and you also stream, so there's a lot to talk about here. And I thought also you were one of the more requested players of those. Like my Twitter DMs are filled with requests of interviewing you.
Awesome.
I thought, like, why not, right? Let's connect. So, okay, let's jump right in, but chronologically from the beginning. Because you had
Right.
your rookie season with Boston Uprising last year. Relatively
Lovely.
late, right? Okay, lovely.
Lovely rookie season.
I'm already interested in the tone. How would you describe your rookie season?
It was definitely not what I'd hope it was to be. I kind of had high expectations for myself coming into the season, but obviously it's hard for a rookie to be put into a roster that is already kind of stable, and it's a mixed roster as well. I was kind of surprised when I got picked for Boston because I really didn't have many connections with them other than being coached by Laurie prior. But it was super weird how I got on the team in the first place. Askoff randomly messaged me asking if I wanted a UA / like Uprising tryout, and I had one block with 4 Koreans on my team that could not speak English, and then I kind of just did my own thing and spoke, and I guess they liked it because I got an offer right after. But being on the Boston Uprising was kind of it was a really good experience for a rookie player, I'd say. But it's better than being on like a team that's playing from remote, for sure.
Okay, that sounds interesting. Like you said, it was weird how you would ask. What do you think? What is your working theory why you were asked to be on the team?
It's just because I knew Laurie had interest in me, just because he liked how vocal I was as a player, and I don't know like if anybody else on the Uprising really knew about me, but I knew it mostly came from Laurie, which is interesting because he did not want to play me, but it was cool, I guess.
Okay, of course. Like the follow-up question is then, what was it like to be coached by Laurie?
Bro, I did not even get coached by that guy. He like I heard horror stories from the players, but like being there, I had my one block. They put me in, and then they instantly took me out, and he told me I played like a ranked player, and then I kind of coaching Korean and then my manager would translate it. So it's kind of hard to follow. It's really hard to follow when they're speaking in Korean and then it's being translated because you don't know if it's exactly what he's trying to say, and it's also harder to pay attention. But from what I could tell, that the Western players were not happy in that coaching like environment.
There were always these stories that the Boston Uprising under Laurie did ridiculous amounts of practice. Was that true?
It was a lot of practice. But when I was there, I came during the break for the midseason, and I feel like it was. I don't know because it was my first season, so that's what I was used to when I first got there. But it was like 2 to 3 blocks a day every single day, except for we had like our one off day. But it looked like the players. I couldn't tell if they're burnt out or not. But when it was under Askoff after Laurie left, because we didn't have much time, so we actually scrimmed quite a lot.
Was that an immediate, like, okay, the results changed, right? Was that also internally just like a sigh of relief? Okay, let's rally around.
Yeah, I think it felt better for the Koreans because they had a break. I remember hearing after we had this thing basically with the Western players. We had a Western team where we teamed up. We partnered with the London Spitfire and their bench players, and we had the London bench players and the Boston bench players, and that was like our own little team that we practiced while the main team practiced. And we ended up scrimming the main team, and I think we beat them. And then they said there was going to be a roster change after the scrim, and then that's when all the Koreans were like, they were kind of relieved to go on break. And of course, Askoff came on as head coach, and then me, Punk, Crimzo, and Valentine Faith were in the roster as well.
Did that scrim team also scrim other owl teams?
Yeah, we did. We scrimmed a couple other owl teams and contenders teams. It was during the Queen meta, so it was kind of fun because we were more experimental. We, instead of leaning towards the Sojourn, I really wanted to try the Ash style of the Queen meta because I thought it was better, and it turned out to be a lot better, as you saw when Dallas Fuel won the summer stage.
How does one go about booking these scrims? Because I imagine like teams, of course, don't want to give, you know, strategies away against direct opponents. Now you got to, you know, be mindful of 2 different opponents. How do you do that?
I don't know. Teams were just like down to scrim us, I guess. I feel like maybe they didn't respect us, and that's why they scrimmed us. But having the B team was kind of fun, just because no one got to play. We did a thing before, anyways. During the Queen meta, when it first became a thing, every flex support was benched, obviously. So we had a Discord server with about like, I'd say like 50 all players, like Korean or Western, and we ran Pugs playing like the Jotes meta. It was ran by like me and Piggy, so it was pretty fun to do. So I feel like people weren't that worried about sharing strats in that kind of meta.
Makes sense, yeah. Did you okay, so leadership, there was a leadership change at the Uprising.
Mm-hmm.
Did that new leadership contact you at all if you want to stick around, or was it very quickly clear, okay, like your contract is running out this season? What was the situation like?
I was signed to a +1, so there was an option to resign, but I was actually in a call with Pre when they were coming to ask us about, I'm pretty sure it was just like a thing that they just do where they just talk to all the players before they drop them, just, you know, it's nice and something like that. But they didn't say they were dropping me. It was more or less like, we're kind of moving into new leadership and we're asking you if you're interested in staying, or we're telling you that something might change or something won't. So I was kind of left in the dark, but I wasn't surprised when they're moving to a different direction because I knew what was going to happen when they signed new managers and stuff like that.
Did you tell them that you were interested in staying if there was still space for you?
Yeah, I wanted to stay. Only thing I said I didn't want to do is live in the same place we lived in, but now I get to live at home, I guess. So, I don't know.
What was so bad about the place that you lived in?
Oh, Sharon, Massachusetts? No, you're in an apartment building on the side of the highway, and there's nothing near you, and it's just depressing. You know, you're just living in it's like living on a cruise ship, and then you have to walk across the highway to go to a grocery store, but you have to drive everywhere, and you're just in the middle of nowhere. The Koreans hated it. The Western players hated it. People that live there, like Punk especially, really didn't like it. It was just not a good environment to be in. It was pretty depressing.
Did someone in your team have a car?
Crimso had a car, but we had to use the team van, so fitting like 12 people in one van, it's, as you can imagine, not very comfortable.
Sure. Now, okay, the season is over, and half your team forms or reforms under Boston Uprising. And it's all the Western players, presumably those guys that he had relationships with during your time there. And you're not part of it. What did that feel like?
Well, I didn't know that was going to happen, that they were all going to go to Vancouver. It makes sense thinking about it, since they already had Baroy working with Vancouver and he was working with Boston prior. And I knew him and Askoff were friends. But I actually asked him during the off season if they needed a second player or like an extra player. But they wanted to Askoff really wanted to test out working with a 5-player roster and kind of seeing how that worked. I did get an offer to be like a 6-man reserve for that team and kind of just emergency sub for whatever role they needed. But I ended up turning it down because it wasn't guaranteed. And also because at the time I was playing with the contenders team and I wanted to kind of play through Pro-Am and see if I get noticed.
Makes sense. Now, during that time, like presumably you have a lot of options, right? You could...
None.
I mean, you could have signed that one. You could have...
It was, I guess, but it wasn't any contract. It was kind of like, you want to stay on standby. If something bad happens, 30-day contract. Right.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, if it was just 30... Right. the other option would have been collegiate, right? We heard that a lot, especially about players with your profile who are good enough for Overwatch League, but probably will only get offers by teams like the Eternal, like your team, where you're not getting a team house and you're only getting a salary. Why not go to collegiate and, you know, maybe being paid a full ride, you know? Was that ever on the table for you?
I didn't want to go to school. I was really focused on Overwatch. I knew whatever was, because I'm not happy when I go to school. I wasn't like, it's not something that I'm passionate about. And I'm really passionate about Overwatch. And I really wanted to put everything I had into it because I knew that I would be in the league if I tried my hardest.
Do you feel still as strongly, even given the circumstances that you're in right now?
For going to collegiate?
No, for Overwatch. Do you still love the game and like still want to pursue
100%. The reason why I signed with Valiant was so I could prove myself to every team that said no to me, or to all the teams that didn't want to pick me up or stuff like that. I really wanted to show that I should be here and that teams should be interested in me.
How satisfied are you with your performance and the pursuit of that goal?
Well, I knew coming into it that it was going to be really hard. So I really wanted to kind of just think about it as, I know this season is going to be really hard, but I want to work on myself and I want to do as good as I can. So I really made sure that, you know, I'm not discouraged when we lose. I knew that it was not going to be easy and it's kind of everything's against us. So I feel like my performance has been surprising to people in the league and to fans and stuff. I think a lot of people have kind of been excited to see the Valiant play just because of like how underrated the team is and how exciting they can be. But I'm not 100% satisfied with my play. I think I can be a lot better, but yeah, it's good to see people that are enjoying seeing us play.
I think one thing that I admire about your determination is that you don't just give your best in a situation that, you know, the odds are stacked against your favor. You're clearly like often putting the carry pants on, but you're also streaming a lot, right? Like you're putting in real hours there as well. Do you enjoy streaming?
Yeah, I've been streaming for a long time. Like even before I was an owl, before I was in contenders, I really like streaming just because, I don't know, it's fun to do. If I'm gonna play ranked and I'm not playing with like a friend that we're just hanging out off stream, then I'm gonna stream just because there's no reason not to stream. You know, people like to watch you. You have fun streaming, and you can make money doing it. And also builds your career, which is one of the bigger parts that pro players miss out on. Is that if you don't stream or don't have an audience, and when you leave the Overwatch League, no one's gonna remember you. People aren't gonna go up to you and like they're not gonna follow you in other esports if you don't build a platform for yourself.
For sure. Now you're shooting that horn that I was trying to talk about this week as well, where it feels like I think a lot of your fellow competitors, probably rightfully, in a lot of other game or competitive endeavors, the entertainment aspect comes second, right? Or if at all, is like the entertainment comes from the competition. Sometimes the competition itself lends itself to the entertainment because there's inherently very dramatic, or their large media industries are built around that. We don't have that, right? So it is sort of on the players to develop that that personality. And yet, like I feel like a lot of people don't want to speak out. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think Overwatch it's a really hard game. It's not something where it's really draining. Easy, I can say it. I feel like if you really want to be the best and you really want to make sure that you're not falling behind, you need to put a lot of time into the game. You need to be obviously taking care of yourself as well. And I feel like the biggest thing in the league that kills players is burnout. You can see in past seasons of OWL, everybody eventually they get burnt out. And it's either because of scrims, meta being boring, or streaming, as well as ranked. I feel like if you're going to stream, you kind of have to play ranked if people want to watch you if you don't have a good personality, because there's no incentive for them to watch you. Like most of the good DPS players, good tank players, good support players, some of them that don't really have like a outgoing personality mostly get their viewers for people that want to see gameplay. And it's a little hard to do that when ranked isn't as fun and the ladder is not that good to play, the meta is stale, stuff like that.
Do you think it would be different if Overwatch had something? I mean, this is an age-old topic, but hypothetically, do you think the content would just straight be better if you didn't have to play ranked, but got something like an FPL system where the pro players play against each other, and like you have to be invited into those lobbies, and there's an elo system? Maybe there's some monetary incentive or bragging rights at the end of the season. Do you think that would help in content?
100%. Like when there was the beta and it was on live, we had this thing called Circus. It was kind of like a face it system, and that got a lot of views. It was when ranked wasn't a thing in Overwatch too, so all the pro players were playing that, and contenders players could play in it as well, and that was really, really good. Everybody liked to watch that. It was just Pugs, and people were trying really hard. And I feel like if that was a thing, I feel like the players it would be really fun for the players because they're not playing ranked, but it also gives them an option to when like they want to play ranked, but the games are so bad, they just play pro Pugs, and then they can do whatever they want with that, and it would bring in a lot more viewers and also give them a choice, which I think we need.
Right. Now, some critics might say, well, Pugs are available. You can create a lobby and then just make it work. Would that not work?
Well, no one really, like, it's a thing where it's hard to get a bunch of people to play Pugs because the thing with Overwatch Pugs is eventually people don't play. It'll be alive for like a week, and then this person has to go do something. Oh, they can't go. They can't play. We're missing a support player. It's always a support player. Everybody's always missing a support player, and then we can't get enough people, and then slowly it kind of dies out. But I feel like maybe if there was already like a system like Face It, where people were already playing it, if there's already a market for it, I don't think it would die as fast. I don't really understand how it went with CSGO and how it became like everybody wanted to play that, but I feel like it's just because not enough people know about it, language barrier, and it's hard to set up brand new, like right off the ground.
Yeah. The thing that was always relayed to me was, yes, the support player thing is interesting, especially because theoretically, I think the players with the role with the most players this season is probably support, because you need a lot of teams double up on flex, right?
Right.
But the problem is if Coach B says you're just going to practice ball this week in ranked, and that guy wants to play in Pugs, then you play one round and go, why is my tank on ball? What is going on here?
Yeah.
And then everyone starts throwing if there's no monetary incentive or no ladder to climb, right?
It's really hard with Overwatch, I feel like, because it's more dynamic than a game like CSGO, where CSGO is really easy to run these Pugs because obviously it's the same game. Not much is changing about the game. The only thing that's changing is like people doing different set plays like that. But Overwatch, there's characters, metas, ultimates, all this stuff that's going on where you can't have the same level of practice in every single game. And a lot of players I know are pretty tired after scrim, which is another reason why they don't really stream. And they kind of just want to chill and play ranked or not have to put all this effort into Pugs.
Do you think Overwatch is a more stressful game than other esports? Like, just from a gameplay loop perspective, I feel like you're never shutting down in Overwatch, right? Like in CS, right? You're tracking economy and whatnot, and maybe you're thinking about what you did wrong or whatever, but you got a little bit of downtime and buy time and whatnot. In Overwatch, you're all tracking, you're thinking about what you got to prepare, you're positioning, whatnot, right? Like it's action nonstop from spawn doors opening and whatnot. Do you think that is also part of the burnout that you're experiencing?
I feel like Overwatch is such a stressful game to play. As like in dive meta, stuff like that, where you constantly have to think. You're always trying to do something. You think about everything that's going on, obviously. I think Overwatch is just such a stressful game, and it takes so much out of you. That's like a big reason why players are too tired. Players don't want to stream. People retire, all that stuff. Like if I was a support player or like a DPS player in GOATS meta, like 100% I would have retired. That stuff is just, you're talking the whole time, playing super fast tempo, trying to do stuff that turns fights, trying to think about how you can win the fight, thinking about what they're doing, all this stuff. Like it's so draining, and especially when you're losing, it feels like there's no point in doing it.
For sure. Now, another thing, and I'm giving a little bit of information away here for viewers, but it feels like this season has been incredibly hard on teams. And one point given by Dante was, you don't have that much, change in your daily life because you don't have the LAN events anymore, right? Like nothing changes. You're just grinding it out. And I then noticed you've been a professional, depending on what your definition is, at least for like 1.5 years now, right?
Yeah.
And you've never been to a LAN event, right? Look,
I feel like. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go on.
The reason why for me is I don't like feel the way Dante feels is because I've never got to experience that, and I've been kind of chasing that dream my whole OWL career. That was the biggest thing I wanted to do when I was on Boston. I really, really wanted to qualify for an offline tournament. I really wanted to play in front of fans. It was like that's the thing that kind of keeps like the passion alive inside of me. It's what I want to do because I feel like it's such a big part of esports that you're playing in front of an audience and that you get to feel the energy from the crowd and all that. Because it's just how sports should be. Like you shouldn't be playing in front of a computer and having no one near you or no one around you. Like playing in a remote team is probably the worst thing you could possibly do for a player. It's so demotivating and it feels like you're alone in the whole team. It doesn't feel like you're part of the team. It feels like when things go wrong, there's not much you can do. You kind of just sit in your room and think about it. But when you're on a team winning with a whole group around you, having everybody feeling excited, going to do stuff with your teammates, building a connection is something that is such a big part of just sports in general, but Overwatch especially.
How are you guys coping in Valiant with that?
Well, I feel like we knew it was going to happen. So we had ideas of kind of getting together and having like a house somewhere, but the thing is no one's getting paid enough to be able to pay for this thing to happen, and the season's so short there's not really a point in doing it. Being on the Valiant and knowing that you don't have any support from your org either makes it feel like what's the point of getting a team house if we're not going to have food paid for, if we're not going to have computers given to us, we're not going to have proper coaching staff given to us by the org. It feels like I'll just ride it out from home, where everything is easier for me.
You're playing on your own PCs?
Yeah, everybody is. No one got PCs from Blizzard.
Okay, interesting. I mean, not from Blizzard, but presumably from your own.
Yeah, exactly. But normally they're the World Cup PCs, but no, I'm playing on my own PC.
Was there a stipend or anything included in that? Without asking too much? Wow.
There's absolutely nothing. Only thing we get was like jerseys and a backdrop and some sweet 2018 2020 Valiant merch.
But okay, that we saw that thing happen to Paintbrush in the preseason with the misprint
Flyers jersey. Yeah, that was crazy.
That wasn't a meme, right? That actually happened.
No, it happened.
Was your jersey at least?
No, mine's normal. I guess they liked me, but Liar wasn't so lucky.
Right. Oh, okay, let's talk about this. It seems like the process of getting with that organization must be ultra weird. How do you get scouted? How do you select is the roster selected? Who does that? How did the Valiant happen this season?
I don't know how it happened. I remember getting a message randomly one day while I was streaming from this random guy. I had no idea who he was. Just asked me, "Hey, with the LA Valiant, you want to hop on call or something?" And then I think somehow they were affiliated with Paintbrush because he was kind of the one that was asking players. I remember he came to me and he's like, "Hey, bro, come play with the Valiant." And stuff like that happened. We reached out to all these contenders players and stuff. We knew that we couldn't get like players that weren't in contenders. We didn't have money for a buyout. We had to get locally sourced players right from the NA tier 2 pool or coming out of OWL. So it was kind of just like Paint rallying the people up and having this GM that was handing out the contracts and stuff like that.
Makes sense. I mean, Paintbrush being the person that is instructing that is just cosmically ironic given the videos he did in the past about the organization. I recall. What is Paintbrush doing? Is he actually in a coaching position or like does he show up to scrims and?
He shows up to scrims. Yeah, he's there. I'm not like he had like one doctor's appointment, guys. Come on, lay off on him. But yeah, he shows up to scrims. He's in a coaching position. We have people that we have like the whole team and stuff. He's kind of doing everything, you know. Like there's a meme about how he runs everything, but he's doing his best, you know. I definitely like can admire how he was able to kind of understand that, you know, maybe I'm not a player anymore and maybe I need to see this from more of a coaching perspective and help my team out. But we definitely have like support from him for sure. If there's anyone that is supporting us on the team, it's Paintbrush.
So he presumably books the scrims and like.
We actually have a manager. We have a manager helping out. So he's booking the scrims for us. But other than that, you know, Paintbrush is helping with like overhead stuff, helping the players out. But for sure, he does a lot.
Sweet. What is practice like for you guys? Because I already told you beforehand. Like I had a false assumption about how you guys scrim, but you presumably scrim like a normal amount, right?
Yeah, no, we do everything a normal team does. People think that we don't scrim or we just take it. We don't take it seriously. Everybody on Valiant takes this seriously. You know, we're scrimming at normal times. For me, it's 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. for like first blocks, and then it'll be like 1 to 3. But we all do like we 2 scrims a day. That's the minimum we do. We review before or after or in between the break. Everybody's putting in the same amount of time into the game, and it's just like a normal OWL team. Only exception is like obviously we don't do 3 blocks, which we did on Boston. We would sometimes do like triple block days, but it's really the same as a normal OWL team. Nothing has changed.
How are scrims going? Are you still like in good graces of the good teams? Are you still scrimming against like the best teams in the league? And like in general, like if you look at your results from scrims, does that reflect equally on how you're actually doing in live matches, or are you guys scrim warriors, or what's going on there?
I wouldn't say we're scrim warriors at all. We're definitely like the same as we would be in a match, but I think we're improving. I can definitely see a lot of improvement in us coming to the second stage than in the first stage. I feel like a big reason why we kind of looked a lot weaker was because of how we had 1 week together before the pro season, when a lot of teams like Florida, for example, were scrimming like a while before the season started. But a lot of teams, at least in the first stage, I know that they wanted to scrim us because we don't get discouraged. Teams will boom in scrims and they kind of give up. But in the first stage, at least, I feel like the Valiant really kept going, even if it was hard for us. We still wanted to practice because at the end of the day, the only people we can blame is ourselves if we're not trying in scrims, because we don't have anyone to pull us out of this situation. You know, we're here because we chose to be here, and might as well get as good as we can playing on this whatever kind of situation team. But the second stage, I think it's because I don't really know what to say about that. I think that for us, we still get normal scrims with obviously all the teams. Some teams don't scrim us just because I don't know why. I've been scrimmed like I think I've scrimmed Toronto like once this season, but we still get like top scrims, and you know everything's normal with us.
Makes sense, yeah. Now, of course, one of the matches that were denied from us was the match against the Vegas Eternal, and now their roster looks very different. But presumably, you guys scrimmed each other like in the first half already, considering you guys. You know.
We scrimmed a lot. It was a lot of London, a lot of Vegas.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
How did you guys do against the Eternal?
Well, most of those matches came down to, I feel like Eternal had more support outside of the team. They actually had like coaching staff. So playing against the Eternal was kind of like, if you wanted to play well, like if we wanted to actually put effort into it, it would go well. But all the times when things went wrong, it was kind of hard to. It was kind of hard for our team to kind of bounce back, because it's just a thing with like scrimming where no one wants to lose to a bad team in scrims. And even if you're at the bottom, you still want to do good in scrims. So I think we would go even with the Vegas Eternal. We'd beat them, go even, lose. Like it's just what happens in scrims. A bad team can beat a good team any day of the week. It's just comes down to like if the players are feeling good, if like the comps you're playing are working out. I think scrim results are one of like the most skewed thing you can look at as performance for teams.
Yeah, that's comical. Considering like what I usually do in the preseason with the scrim bugs, at least for the top teams, they're relatively. You gotta know how the teams practice. You know,
Yeah.
like, you can't do anything about Dallas scrims. That's whatever. Like they can lose every scrim and then win a grand final.
Yeah.
That's just how they are.
It's just how it works. Like people can just not try in scrims and have a bad day. That happens with every team. You know, people aren't happy sometimes, and someday it'll be a bad day. Someday it'll be a good day. It's just practice at the end of the day, and you want to do better the next day. It's just how it works.
For sure. But if you met, let's say you played the Eternal in the first half, do you think you would have won?
100%. We already beat them in the pro am. It wasn't even close. We 2-0'd them in the pro am. We would have 3-0'd them in the normal season. We wanted to win way more than they did. As like stupid as it sounds, you know, we both haven't won a game this season unless you count pro am. But I feel like on the Valiant, I feel like the Vegas players they kind of got discouraged, and it didn't feel as good for them to win as it would for us because we really, really wanted it.
Have you scrimmed the new team yet?
Yeah, we have, and a new team. So I'll say that they're still getting their stuff together.
Do you play them multiple times, right, in the second half? Twice?
Do we? I think we played London twice.
Oh, London.
I don't think it's Vegas twice.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's kind of sad that we don't have the double up there. You know, like we couldn't do the comparison. Because
it's not even the same team, so it's like It's a new team. It's not the same grudge match everybody's trying to pit it out to be. It's the Busan Eternal. Like it's not the Vegas Eternal anymore.
Right. Now, I think given your resources, you've been doing decently well. I'm thinking about the Florida series and whatnot. How do you go into this season? Like, what is the mission statement? You presumably get together in that first scrim block, and you go, "Here we are. Let's do something," right? Like, how did that go?
Well, first day of scrims, as you can expect, we don't have any owl scrims because no one even knew we were going to be in the league. So we're scrimming some contenders teams. You know, it was pretty easy. They're contenders teams. They're not as they're obviously kind of sticking to their strengths, playing like certain comps. They don't really branch out from that. So for the first like 2 weeks of scrims, we only scrimmed tier 2 teams. Maybe we got like 1 or 2, like maybe 1 Vegas block, but it was really just scrimming contenders teams for all of Pro-Am until like the 3rd week where we actually got owl teams because people book pretty far ahead for Overwatch League. So it's kind of hard to catch up once you're already so far back.
You said you guys came together. Was that 1 week before Pro-Am?
Yeah, it was like a week, maybe a week and a half before Pro-Am, and we felt comfortable playing. We didn't really experiment too much. If we saw like some teams playing this, we all have friends in the Overwatch League, so we all kind of know what people are playing. So we're like, hey, let's kind of just play this comp. I think it'll work well for us. You know, me and Nos played together on a rush team playing Mei and Kree, and we're like, you know, we're pretty good at these characters. Let's just try forcing this comp, and it worked out for us.
Right. How far before you first started scrimming were you approached about signing with them?
I honestly don't remember the time I was approached, but it was pretty close when we started scrims. I think we had like a week after we got like the contracts, or like maybe like 3-4 days, and then we started getting into scrims. But we all had played together before on previous teams, so it wasn't hard to like find chemistry. It was kind of just like new team feel. You kind of see where like who's leading, what the comm structure is going to be like, stuff like that.
Makes sense, yeah. Are you given everything? How satisfied are you with how you guys performed so far?
Obviously, I'm not satisfied until we win because there's nothing to be happy about while you're losing. You can see good improvement. I'm proud of that. I feel like we're improving a lot more at this stage, but I think I'll be more satisfied once we start actually like showing good results in matches and showing that we can win games.
Right. Okay. Here's the undertone that I'm receiving here is that you're very locked in. You're still practicing heavily with that team. Presumably, considering there's an opening on your home country's team, the Vancouver Titans, if you look at the hero pools that you and Aspire played, they're reasonably similar. I was looking at your play times, like you were playing a bunch of Soldier and you were playing a bunch of Hanzo. Pretty much similar. Have you been approached? Like, you're staying with Valiant, is what I'm hearing from the tone?
I don't want to say too much, but I think that I was approached by at least 2 teams in the midseason, but it's more of a buyout problem with most teams this year. I feel like everybody's kind of poor. They spend a lot of money on their players and they don't have money to pay for buyouts. So I wasn't personally approached by Vancouver. I asked them, I said, what's going on with you guys? But I knew that it would be easier for them to pick up like a free agent than it would to pay for my buyout and do a transfer, something like that.
Okay. Feel free to not answer this, but is your buyout big?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Right, makes sense, yeah. Right, so, okay. You're definitely going to continue playing with the Valiant then, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, 100%. I'm staying with the Valiant unless someone changes, but as far as I know, I'm sticking with the Valiant to the end of the year.
For sure. Now, the other thing that you're involved in is Overwatch World Cup, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, theoretically, that, as we talked about, could be your first, or it will going to be your first LAN event, and it's BlizzCon. Yeah. Are you looking forward to that?
Yeah, I'm really excited, actually. I know that we don't play on the stage unless we make top 8, so, you know, I got all the motivation in the world to want to make it to the playoff stage, and I really want to play in front of a crowd, because that's been my whole dream as a pro player, is playing in front of a crowd, feeling the energy of a LAN, you know, getting to celebrate with my teammates, all that stuff. That's something I'm really looking forward to, and I really just can't wait.
Makes sense, yeah. Now, okay, here's the last question, and I think I'm going to make this mandatory. Let's see how this works, but I feel like there needs to be one donation to the hot take jar, okay? Just one take where you think, okay, either this is an unpopular opinion because like the community generally doesn't think this. It could be about a player that, like, about the first half. Maybe someone is criminally underrated. Maybe something will happen in the future that nobody anticipates. Maybe you just try to piss someone off. Like, be my guest. Whatever you want to say here.
Wow. I mean, as far as like the teams go for the standings, I feel like everybody's kind of at the same place that they were last stage. Maybe Washington will do better. Maybe it'll be worse. I don't know too much. I think Spectra on Toronto. I think he's pretty underrated as a player. I trialed a lot with him in the offseason, and nobody was looking at him. They kind of just I think they overlooked him. So as far as I don't think it's a hot take, but I think a really underrated player would be Spectra.
How good is he? Give me like a benchmark. Like what kind of player is he like?
I mean, he's really flexible. As far as like flex DPS go, that guy can play a lot of hit scan. I know from like experience playing with him and doing stuff like that. I know that he's able to like play some of the sniper characters, the hard hit scan characters. So I feel like he's pretty ideal for a 5-man roster as far as like double hit scan maps go. And he's also pretty familiar with like Summer Tracer dive. So I think that he's more of a hyperflex player.
Hyperflex, right? But like, okay. I think, reasonably speaking, everyone in the Overwatch League has a certain skill level on those heroes. Mm-hmm. But what do you think? Like, how do you see compare in skill level? Like, what kind of characters is he like A tier or whatever in? Right? Like, what are his best heroes, and what is the level he's comparable to?
Put me on the spot here. I don't know. Overwatch is a thing about Overwatch. It's kind of hard to compare players because everybody's different, mm-hmm. and everybody has their skills and their different ways to play each character. But honestly, I don't know where to put him until we see him play. But all I know is that guy's a monster.
Okay, fair. Do you think Toronto will do better in the second half?
Yeah, I think Toronto will look a lot better. I feel like they kind of have these really hungry players. I know that before, I feel like Toronto had a lot more pressure on them. I feel like this kind of takes the pressure off with like their Korean players coming in and them kind of being seen as a different team. So I think Toronto will do better.
Okay, once again, I got to push for the hot take.
Oh boy.
Is there a team you think will do worse than in the first half?
Vegas will do worse. I think Vegas needs to work out the problems they have in their team with being a new team and having a language barrier. I feel like they're pretty uncoordinated right now, but it's something that you can assume when you're bringing in these Korean players that haven't exactly played with a mixed roster, and they're also playing from home on ping, and there's so much stacked against them. I think maybe it's a good chance for them to prove themselves, but I also feel like there's not a lot to expect out of the roster as far as it goes, just because the season's coming up so fast and they still haven't figured everything out.
Makes sense, yeah. Now, presumably, are you going to stream after this? Where can people find you in your stream?
Yeah, I stream twitch.tv/seeker. You know, I'm the OG, just the OG name. I stream as much as I can. I like to stream a lot, and I'd say
rough
it's
time zones.
You know, it's kind of just whatever. Sometimes in the morning, sometimes after scrims, late at night. I go as I feel. You know, just stay posted. You gotta make sure you have the notification so you see it. You know.
For sure. Do you play with any players more than others?
Yeah, I play a lot with Mir from the Washington Justice. That's the boy.
All right. Then we thank you for the interview. Best of luck in the preparation for the next season.
You.
And we're looking forward to the improvements that you talked about.
Yeah. Thank you.